The infamous Eggman, named so by the community, or now the official name the Forgotten Man, is the most mysterious and weirdest thing you can find in the entire game. Despite being called the Forgotten Man, he is actually one of the most memorable and searched person by the players. Everyone wants to meet him and get that egg, because the egg seems to be similar to the shadow crystals. Both of them are 1 per chapter and they will stop at 5. The game even keeps track of them. This leads the people to speculate that the eggs will be very important and unlock a secret ending or some sort. Stuff like if you have all the eggs, the man will be revealed that he's actually Gaster, the eggs are something else like a code, the tree is a man sitting down, and the list just goes on. And I think you are asking a bit too much from just a poor man. The Eggman interactions in the first 2 chapters is at bare minimum, but chapter 3 and 4 added a lot of new context that made me realize that the Eggman is not really that important to the main plot or the game itself, but for you, the player. The man represents more of a concept, an idea, rather than just a literal man. But he also seems to have connections with one character, and he seems that he wants to tell them something important, something that has been forgotten. In this video I want to explore everything about the Forgotten Man, from his origins to his purpose in the game, and we will do that in 3 different sections which you can find in the progress bar. Let's begin by discussing what the man represents. Before I start this section, I want to give a shout out to people on Reddit, the wiki, and especially the Bee's Knee, who made a fantastic video about the Eggman, and all of this amazing interpretation inspired me to make this video, so I highly suggest to check them out. They are full of interesting and fun details. All the links are in the description. The first question I will ask is where the Eggman came from. Well, we don't know that yet. Or ever. Even he doesn't look like he knows. But we can answer that question if we look outside the game and shift our attention to Toby Fox, the creator of the game. Both Undertale and Deltarune were inspired by Toby's favorite game of all time, Earthbound, and this is the place of origin of the Forgotten Man. In the game you can find a strange man that adds nothing to the main game, and talking to him feels very odd and scary in a way. I am a Forgotten Man, I am not really here, you didn't have to notice me. Please ignore me. I am a man who does not exist. You talk so kindly, I don't know what to do. If I miss people, I cannot live alone anymore. My conversation is always a monologue. That's because he talks to a silent protagonist, just like in Deltarune. I've been alone from the moment I was born. Lucky, unlucky, it makes no difference to me. Sometimes even breathing becomes too much. Why do you insist on talking to me? Are you a forgotten man too? This dialogue is almost the same one as the Deltarune man in chapter 3. I am a forgotten man, will you forget me too? At one point, Toby himself talked about his character. In the English version, due to the phrasing and some slight mistranslation, he instead sounds like a weak and pathetic old man who wants nothing more than to give in his own loneliness and depression. He easily has the most depressing dialogue of any characters on the NES, making him, ironically, maybe more unforgettable than the Japanese version. Toby was fascinated by this character and it left a mark on him. He wanted to recreate the man and pay homage to that moment he experienced, and he wanted to share that eerie, unforgettable feeling with others. So he made the Deltarune Forgotten Man, and I'm sure he definitely left a mark on you. Toby had said that the Earthbound man has a scary aura around him, and many Deltarune players had the same feeling about the man. His first 2 encounters felt very weird and scary. A strange person who is talking to you and gives you a weird egg. It's creepy. And because of this aura and how disconnected the man is with everything else in the game, ironically he becomes the most unforgettable man. A mystery that everyone wants to explore and find. And this is a good segue into the next question. Now we understand partially why there is a man here, but why the egg? The Earthbound man never had anything to do with eggs. Well, that's because eggs are a reference to Easter eggs, the term used to describe a hidden message, image or feature in a video game or other media. A secret for players to find, just like an Easter egg hunt. Nowadays, Easter eggs are used to hide small information and hints that will help the player to understand and piece the main story out. It's a necessary feature for completing the puzzle. The best example is Five Nights at Freddy's, where the game hides a lot of obscure events, characters, and even the main plot behind Easter eggs. But back in my day, Easter eggs were just some fun little secrets that you could find around the game if you look a bit closer closer or by a chance. To give just a few examples, in Assassin's Creed 2, if you stare for a few seconds at the lake, you can see a giant squid. Same as in Assassin's Creed 4, where you can see a fight between a squid and a whale. Or in the GTA games, where you can find ghosts, sunken ships, or even a pumping heart inside a statue. And tons of other old games, where you can find UFOs and other stuff like that. All of these things adds nothing to the game and are never acknowledged or talked about by anyone in the game. They are just a feature that makes the player further engage with the game and crank up the experience, making them want to play the game even more or be even more interested in it, and search for these fun secrets to see them for themselves, even though they do absolutely nothing. They just want to see and experience them because they are cool and interesting. This fits very well with the description of the egg in Deltarune. Not too important, not too unimportant. The eggs are not important for the game itself. The item is useless. It just sits in your inventory. Even if you use it, it does nothing. It just disappears. But the egg is important for you, the player. It's a memory or a representation of your search for this mystery and your interactions with the man. The egg is an item that will make you remember the man and to make him no longer be forgotten. If you say you'll forget him as well, he will disappear and he will no longer give you an egg because you'll no longer remember him, so he vanishes. He becomes absolutely forgotten. The egg is important outside the game. It's important for you. You are searching for the man and the egg is just another Easter egg hunt. You are doing it for fun and the experience rather than unlocking a secret ending or something like that. The man dialogue in chapter 3 is the longest in the game so far, and it's quite interesting because it further explored this concept of old games. This time around, the Eggman is extremely hard to find compared to any other mystery in the game, and instead of entering in a single room, you enter in a small area that is all green alongside 6 ruins. Even the Eggman's tree is different. The tree as well is green here. This place is known as the Man country and it looks to be the man's home, or what's left of it. Let's explore his dialogue here. I am just a man. Listen well to my story. Once upon a time the whole world looked like this. Do you think so? Yes. Really? You believe something so absurd? I am happy to hear it. Let me continue. The world changed, society was developed. In any case, this island is the only place left I can talk. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Funny, I haven't the faintest clue what it all means. But one day this island will disappear too. We may not meet again in that case. Do you want to meet again? Yes. Even though they are just a few lines of dialogue, with the proper context, the main words are packed with interesting references. Once upon a time, the whole world looked like this. Well, yes, in a way. For the Deltarune characters, the game world is their whole world, and at some point, games really used to look like this. Back in 1989, Nintendo released a new game console named Game Boy. It was a great time for gamers. Because of Nintendo's lack of resources and some technology limitation at the time, they decided to make a green tinted screen that can only display different shades of green. So all of the games on the console look like this, just like the Man country. It was only in 1998 when Nintendo made the color version of the console. So for 9 whole years, all the popular games at the time look like this. If you want a deeper explanation about the reason why it was green or other technicalities like this, I will leave a link to the video in the description. It's quite interesting. Do you believe something so absurd? I myself never knew games were like this at one point because I'm not that old. I wasn't born even when the colored version was released. And I bet this is the case for the majority of you. We never grew up with this kind of games, so it is absurd to think that the whole world, or in our terms the majority of the games at one point look like that. Especially for the new generation that only experience today's type of games with high quality graphics. Toby also really loves old style games. Deltarune HUD looks very similar to Earthbound, and despite being a game made just recently, it has these black bars on the sides. These are because old games were played on smaller screens and resolutions, but right now we have very large screens. We no longer play games on that format. Toby Fox was born in 1991, so he definitely had experienced this era of games and he wanted to recreate it because now this era is forgotten, just like the man. The world changed, society was developed. Games no longer have that kind of limitations. Games can look like this, and they seem to have evolved at a very rapid pace over the last few years. Now we have super realistic games thanks to the RTX technology. The new computers can process hyper realistic textures, the VR games gets better and better, and the list goes on. The era of green games is now over and forgotten by the society, and the Man country seems to be a remnant of that era, a piece of that world that managed to live until now. This island is the only place left I can talk. That's because the Man is from that era, the era of old games. Just like the Man from Earthbound, this is the Man's home and from where he originates. This is his domain. So this island is the only place he can talk and exist, the final echo of a bygone era. But one day this island will disappear too. Toby probably feels nostalgic about that era, and he wishes it still exists, a time where technology wasn't so advanced and games used to be more creative and fun. I often hear how Toby doesn't like how you can no longer hide stuff in the game. People already had found the chapter 3 egg only a few hours after the game released, despite being so well hidden. Nowadays people can just rip the game apart using programs and even see how the game sprites are named, how every secret is coded and how to trigger them. And because of the internet, everyone will know all the secrets a game has to offer just a few hours after release. And you can no longer experience that tiny chance to find that secret all by yourself. You can no longer experience the Easter egg hunt. The literal hunt for secrets is no longer a thing, because you can search them online and find about all the secrets a game has to offer. Rumors or mysteries no longer exist, because if they would, we would have found them in the game's codes or from a guy online who experienced it and told us about. He even said something like this in his last newsletter before chapter 3 and 4 released. He advised us to make sure to not get spoiled, because some people might have already completed the game and uploaded it on the internet. It looks like Toby craves for a time where you still could make creative and fun games like in the 90s, and hide stuff in the game without everyone knowing about it a day after. He goes for the experience that you get from the game alone and nowhere else. We can tie this back to the Easter eggs, a fun silly little thing that you can find in a game that makes us further engage with the game and have a more personal connection with it. And by creating the Man country, Toby wants you to remember that era and get the same feeling, to carry on the legacy and not let it be forgotten. And perhaps some of you will one day make a game yourself and recreate that types of games because of your interaction with the Man. Toby said about Undertale that he would love that one day someone will make a game that was inspired by Undertale. Toby clearly has a passion for creative indie games, and he wants to support and encourage them. By remembering the Man, you will carry his legacy and allow him to still exist and this old world to not die, to keep it alive, because something is only dead when everyone has forgotten about it. So we should not allow that fun era to disappear. This is Toby's way to pass down the torch to you through the Forgotten Man and the eggs. By remembering the Man, he starts to manifest back into the world. He can be seen inside the car waving happily at you, and also in the diner where he notices you and taps his takeout box happily. This small interaction only happened if you got the egg and spoke to the Man. The green island might disappear, but because of you, the true meaning behind it will live on. This is what the Man might represent. And if that's true, I feel sad, because I know a lot of you want much more from this Man. People really want the Man to be something important for the main lore of the game, and not just a symbolism, which seems to be in conflict with the Man's purpose. So many people will be disappointed when they reach the end and see the Man did nothing, or they didn't even find out who the Man was. Just like the Man in Earthbound, people meet him, talk with him for a bit, and he vanishes without trace. I think we should pay more attention on what the Man means and what he's trying to tell us, rather than waiting for him to do something big. We should just enjoy and cherish the mystery hunt and the search for fun while it lasts. You know what else we should not forget? To like and subscribe for... Okay, sorry, that was a really bad joke. Now that we explain how the Man is not a person but the personification of a concept and the idea of old games and Easter eggs, let's scrap all of that and assume that the Man is an actual person, and more specifically, Gaster. Despite disliking the idea of the man being Gaster, I personally reserve that spot for the narrator, I can't deny that the man has several connections that eventually lead to Gaster. Let's first look how both of them are presented in the game. In Undertale there is a very small chance to get a door on a new hallway between two rooms in Waterfall, and if you enter there will be a small road and a strange man in the middle of the room. After you exit, the room disappears forever. The Eggman is also found in a secret room that can be accessed by a small chance when walking between two specific rooms, and the tree can also be found in an empty black room with only a small road around it. And at the end this room disappears without being able to access them again. They both live in a space between rooms, in a space between time and space if you want. Both of them seems to have some power and knowledge about the game. The man seems to know he is in a game, just like we discussed in the first section with the green world. He talks about the Deltarune, but with a space in the middle of it. For reasons I don't know and I will not get into it. Sometimes it's two words and sometimes it's just one, I don't know. So how does the man know the name of the game? He even references how the game production works. We will meet again, whether 11 hours, like the next day for the next chapter, or 11 years, the amount of time it takes for a new chapter to come out for us the players. Deltarune will be waiting. After the conversation with the man in chapter 3, Kris's clothes are changed from the ones in the light world to the ones in the dark world, because the man told us to get dressed and wash our face. It's already weird that Kris enters in the man country, a place that can be found in a dark world, in their light world form and clothes. The same line can be seen in the love letter made by the man that can be found in an old Deltarune newsletter. I'm not gonna read the entire thing because it's quite long. You can read it for yourself if you want, it's full of intriguing potential answers. The letter is hard to read unless you squint your eyes and your heart, which is almost always a reference to the player, meaning only you can read the letter, which makes sense, this is not in the actual game. We will reference this letter again later. Here the man also tells us to put on your coat and wash your face, and the letter disappears at the end. There is also this Rudin in Castletown that might be related to the man. In chapter 3 the Rudins said that there are 7 of them, but on the island are only 6. One of the Rudins in the Castletown is initially green, but in chapter 4 they said their color faded and now they are blue, a color that can be found only here for Rudins. This Rudin is a bit strange because they know a piece of information that no one should know about, the player's name, the one you choose at the beginning. I think they could know that because they are related to the man, although you can argue that the missing Rudin can be found in the therapy room in chapter 4, so there is that. He might be the same blue one from chapter 3, but we can tell that for sure. We don't know if they can shift places just like the man. The man even seems to be a lightener or some sorts, because he can be in both worlds, or at the very least he has the power to appear where he wants, just like when he changes Kris's clothes from the dark and light world versions. He can make stuff appear and disappear or to teleport them, and he probably is following us because he appears in all the dark worlds so far. He definitely has some power over the game. Shifting our attention to the other person, we don't know how much power Gaster has over the game. The only clear example we have is Sans, who knows some information about how this game works, like being able to cheat in the fight, and he even knows how the player can erase this world and start it all over again, playing with their lives. He as well references how Deltarune times work, 1 day or 1 year, and this information and his powers can come from Gaster because Sans has some connections with him. Gaster is a person that fell into his own creation and he was shattered across space and time, and nobody seems to talk about him except his followers, the Gunners. Gaster is known as the Mystery Man, and he as well is a forgotten man by everyone else. Talking about man, I think the biggest connection between these two is the word man. Like I've said, Gaster is known as the Mystery Man. In the Undertale, in the True Lab, Gaster's old laboratory, in the fog area, there is something in the shape of a man. Another interaction in that area says, feels like a tree ripped with delicious fruit. That would perfectly fit with the man behind the tree. So Gaster took the form of a man behind a tree. And finally we have the Deltarune console version achievements. After the end of each chapter you get an achievement if you didn't got the egg with the description complete without issue. Meaning the man and his eggs are an issue, something that shouldn't exist here. He is something that has to disappear and to be forgotten. But we are the ones to bring back the man into the world. Gaster is also some kind of an issue in the world. He achieved some kind of higher life form when he was shattered. Now he seems to be the one to control this world. He is someone that should have been gone, but he's not. That's an issue. Tubby even uses Gaster's speech pattern when he teased the first release of Deltarune, probably pointing out that Gaster has something to do with the creation of this game. Okay, there are quite a few connections now that I have a whole list, but at the same time the man doesn't seem to be Gaster. If you look at how he talks and his overall personality, the man seems to be kind, humble and depressed. He's fated to disappear and he gave up on doing something about it. He succumbed to his fate. But if you get the eggs, he is happy because he is now remembered by someone and he can again be a part of this world. He is no longer forgotten. Gaster is more like that kind of person that has a more eerie dialogue. He's more calculated. His iconic line is very interesting. He wants to learn about this world and he's intrigued by the player and humans' determinations, something that he experimented on in the past. Gaster is more inclined to research and the search for answers and experiments, rather than focusing on feelings and metaphors. Gaster is cryptic as hell. The man is a bit more direct in approach and hints on certain stuff. Gaster is not that nice person that will happily wave at you when he sees you. He will dissect and study you to see how you work. Or if you want to go wild, he would put you into a game as a simulation to experiment on you and see what happens and what will you do in this new environment. How will you overcome everything that he throws at you? Just like the narrator does at the beginning. Why? Well, because it's interesting. The Deltarune man doesn't seem to have anything to do with that, but this little argument doesn't compare with the amount of references between Gaster and the man, so I'm not sure what Toby is cooking between them. I guess we will have to wait and see for now, because he knows the best, obviously. For the final section, let's discuss what the Forgotten Man means for Deltarune world and especially what he means for a certain character in the game. Kris and the man seems to have some connections. It looks like the man knows something that Kris no longer remembers. The entire Forgotten Man thing can actually represent a forgotten bad memory that Kris does not want to remember, a traumatic event. Why Kris is the only person who does enter in the man's room and the others are left behind, and they don't even comment on this? Well, it could be because the man wants to speak with us, the player, and Kris has to come along because they are our hosts, but what if this goes deeper than just that? What if the man wants to speak and gives the eggs to Kris because the man is a memory that Kris had forgotten and he wants to make them remember what happened? Or it seems that Kris wanted to get rid of a bad memory and the man wants to make them remember what they did. If you want to go even deeper, maybe the man is a literal memory that was discarded or suppressed deep down by Kris, thus becoming forgotten, that took the form of a man. Some people think that the Forgotten Man is a member of Kris's original family or a fellow human, and they are not really wrong. The guy has man in the name, as in mankind, or a word that describes a male human. I mean, why is Kris the only human in the world? We know that there are or were more humans because there are books about how to care for them. Undertale explained the relation between monsters and humans in the very first cutscene, but we don't know what happened between them in Deltarune. Gaster seems to be a man as well, and that guy is possibly a skeleton, so I'm not really sure about that connection. If we go back at the love letter at the end, the man says he wants to help a person that they seems to have forgotten. Quite ironic. But he knows the moment he will see that person, he will know who is he trying to help. If we examine more closely this image and the word he uses, he says, "When I see them, I'm certain I will know straight away." He doesn't specify a gender, not him or her, but them. And Kris is a person that is referred to with gender neutral pronouns. So possibly the man wants to help Kris. That's the reason why only Kris can enter the room. He recognizes Kris and wants them to remember something. The man speaks in a similar manner in chapter 3 like he does in the letter. "Will you forget me?" If you say no, the man gives you the egg and makes you remember him, and even he says that he will remember you. By collecting each egg, Kris starts to remember more and more, and slowly we start to learn more about Kris. The first 2 chapters the man says pretty much nothing, but in chapter 3 the man finally introduces himself and tests Kris to see if he is willing to remember that event. He introduces the concept of something forgotten, and in chapter 4 we explore that forgotten memory. Here we enter in a therapy room with the man and an empty canvas. The man instructs Kris to take the necessary steps in order to remember, so he gets Kris to paint something. Will you draw? Yes. They began by sketching what they had seen behind the tree, but as they sketched, the line began to err, as the pencil lost its way. This could be interpreted as Kris losing their way in life at some point, and reaching a dead end. They wield the pencil as a weapon, so they might as well be the pencil. This can be tied to the question why Kris doesn't have a soul of their own, because they lost their way, they lost their determination if you want, they lost their soul. If you think I'm reading too much into this, be prepared because this is just the beginning, it's too vague to make a certain conclusion, so I will go wild on this one. So they started again, drawing over the lines they had already made. Many times they would suddenly halt or the pencil drifted into a new drawing. This part probably refers to Kris. Despite being down, they keep trying and trying over again despite their failures. They kept going back on their feet after each fall, so they start over again. This can be related to that bad memory that still haunts Kris, that makes him fall down, but they did go back up. Or maybe it's an event from the future and this tells Kris what they need to do. They should not let this defeat control them, and they also need to continue with this burden, not to leave it behind. Through many repetitions, their movement becomes faster and smoother, until without looking they had completed a sketch in a single wide line. In the end, as a result of layering the sketches on top of each other, the surface of the canvas was nothing more than a monochrome smear. Next, a tree was painted over it, painted over everything, leaving nothing but a simple still life. After all, there wasn't anything to look in the room besides a single tree. Okay, this part is a lot more complicated. Kris seems to get better and better at something, and the layering on top of each other could mean the culmination of Kris's experience that had become just a single thing that is Kris. Then the tree is the representation of that forgotten memory, so they draw on top of everything else because that was something that was missing for the painting, something that was missing from Kris. And now they added it back on top of everything that happened so far. Kris was able to edit it back and become complete, a complete picture. Kris got up. It seems that the painting was complete. Kris needs that memory to be a complete person once again, and maybe this is how they will get their soul back. Right now they are incomplete, or maybe all of this refers to their deal with the night and why Kris does all of that. But let's continue with this theory for now. But their hand, smudged with graphite, was still moving as if to trace some unseen shape. An egg was picked up. If you try to interact with the nearby sink, you'll get this text. You ran water over your hands and drained them. Between your fingers, a faint grain crease glittered stubbornly. You can never wash it all away. Now that Kris had remembered that deed, they can now see their hands are tainted with something. Kris did something in the past, something that they don't want to relive. So they suppressed that memory, but you can never wash it all away. So what was this deed? What did Kris do that was so bad and traumatic for them? I think this event has to be related to Death's disappearance. Every now and then it is referenced how Kris is missing their hand, like the shadow crystals and in chapter 3 at the ball machine. If you introduce a certain amount of money, 1225, which is related to Death because it's 25 December, you enter in a bizarre place that has a similar text box. Kris couldn't find their hand. It's likely that Kris accidentally did something to Death, and her blood or something that is related to that event had tainted their hands, and no matter how much they try to get rid of the stain and forget that memory, you can never wash it all away. What is done is done. There is another person at the therapy and their dialogue goes as follows. Right, this is where we draw pictures and don't kill each other. What am I drawing? Oh, don't look, I'm not finished yet. How did I get here? I can't say I remember. I was in such a rush. I didn't look where I was going at all. God, you don't know how much I'm holding back from making that Asgore meme right now. This random person here seems to be a parallel to Kris. They are another person here for therapy. This is a place where we draw and don't kill each other, possibly hinting that Kris had killed Des or he participated in the kill. They were a witness to that event and it was so traumatic for them to the point that their brains made that memory vanish. But in order to be complete, they have to get back that memory and live with it. They have to confront that memory. How did I get here? I can't say I remember. They don't remember why they are here for, but they know it is to search for a missing piece of themselves. And the man can help them because he is the representation of forgetting something and eventually remembering it. The line "I was in such a rush, I didn't look where I was going at all" can be anything. It could be very well referred to how they don't know how they got here in a room with this strange man, or it could be referred to someone who ran over a person, but I don't know for sure. They say the art is therapeutic. Which one of you was the patient anyway? Well, you got paid, didn't you? Maybe this wants to tell that they help each other. Kris remembers their memories and the man is now remembered or again a part of the world or a part of Kris. With each egg, Kris' forgotten memory starts to resurface and the man starts to reappear in the world as the memories come back. Meaning the man's presence in the world is a parallel to Kris' memories. The more Kris remembers, the man's presence becomes more prominent. The eggs might represent lost fragments of that suppressed memory and Kris will have the full memory back when they will have all 5 eggs. At that point, the man might be as well a full resident of this world, a regular person that you can see in the town. The reason Kris helps the knight and let them do all of this fucked up stuff is to atone for their sins. What Kris did or what they have seen was so bad that they can no longer step out of this. They have to do as the knight says and go with their plan. Now, I think all of that doesn't connect as well to the man compared to the first section with the Easter eggs and all games. If it connects to this, it seems to be too important for just an Easter egg. Although this is how new games seems to do it. But it fits very well with half of the chapter 3 encounter and the entire chapter 4 dialogue. I want to see which direction between these 3 the man will go. Will he remain a cool mystery? Is he really Gaster? The least likely one, to be honest, but still a possibility nonetheless. Or is he someone that tries to help Kris remember their dark past? I guess chapter 5 could really point towards a more clear answer, or it could make everything even more complicated just as Toby likes to do. Maybe we'll have even more stuff after chapter 5. There are 2 more chapters. I doubt that the man will not appear in chapter 6 or 7. Will he really be forgotten? I guess that depends on you and how you play the game. In the end, I think the man could represent all of these things, not just one of them. It could be Gaster who wants to make Kris remember something and maybe he is the reason why he is the only human there. The man can both represent the forgotten era from our world and video games and the forgotten memories of Kris. But I am more inclined to think that the eggs are just an element added to follow an interesting mystery and basically to have fun. I don't think he will be essential to the main story. Even if he ends up telling us about Kris' backstory, I think the man will just add more context to the story and help us piece some parts of the puzzle, rather than giving us a crucial information that we will need to solve the entire story. If you think the eggs will unlock a secret Gaster fight or something like that, well, I can't say you're wrong. I mean, fuck, you can say the eggs will hatch the next generation of humans or something, and I couldn't argue against you. But I don't think the man is supposed to change the game, at least not in a very noticeable way, but rather to be a little side fun quest that you can enjoy and remember years after you play Deltarune. I guess we will have to wait and see where Toby is going with this. Toby as well is very cryptic and mysterious. If you think I've missed something or you have a different interpretation, be sure to let me know in the comments. I usually get some of the stuff wrong and I more or less respond to as many comments as I can, so I would like to continue the conversation there and read your thoughts. That's the point of the channel after all, to debate and solve mysteries together for fun. Kinda like the eggs. I should rebrand the channel, I guess. Also, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video to allow me to make even more stuff like this one for the future. Oh, and also, I forgot to mention, no, Papyrus is not the man. If he was, he would have already cooked them and put it on spaghetti before he would give them to us. And also, I've seen people trying to find a place where to put the eggs in the new chapters, so please don't try to put the egg in someone's butthole.